Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me begin by also offering my condolences to Ms. Cook, as not just as a senator, but as a parent. My heart goes out to you, and we feel you and appreciate you being here today. But I also want to ask the committee to kind of just take a step back and recall what the theme and supposed focus is of this hearing today, because as I've been monitoring, I can't help but take away the false political narrative that blames crime in America on so-called, quote, blue cities, while conveniently ignoring some facts. Because the truth is that Republican-led states have had murder rates 50% higher than Democratic-led states for decades. Look at the stats in Mississippi. Look at the stats in Alabama. Look at the stats in Louisiana. Yet we don't hear President Trump calling for the deployment of National Guard troops or the Marines or any federal agents into Jackson or Baton Rouge. Instead, the Trump administration has chosen to target cities like Los Angeles and Washington, D.C., and Portland, and they're threatening others, not because these cities were uniquely unsafe, but because their residents had the audacity to vote for a candidate for president other than Donald Trump. Now, in my home state of California, I can cite example after example of how we've invested at the state and local level, not just in police, yes, that's important, but also in crime prevention strategies, community-based policing strategies, mental health programs, gun safety initiatives. And those investments work when taken together. Los Angeles saw a 27% drop in homicides thanks to these strategies. That's what real smart public safety efforts look like. But by contrast, let's look again at what we've done here at the federal level. The Republican majority in Congress has supported cutting funding for the ATF by $400 million. Cutting funding, not augmenting ATF resources. They've rescinded over $1 billion in mental health and school safety funding, and even shut down the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And at the same time, they've weakened background checks and effectively legalized machine guns by allowing certain weapons to bypass federal bans. Meanwhile, they're diverting resources away from counterterrorism and child exploitation cases and efforts to combat drug trafficking. And this committee has a responsibility to call out these facts. And as members of this committee, we must also defend the Constitution against executive overreach. Deploying federal troops and masked agents into American cities without lawful basis is not just a policy disagreement. It's a fundamental threat to democratic norms and the separation of powers between states and the federal government. My first question, General Enyart, as someone who commanded the Illinois National Guard, how do you view the danger of using Guard units or even active duty service members in cities like Los Angeles and Portland and Washington, D.C. for local law enforcement efforts?
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Senator. Well, as a commander of National Guard forces, former commander of National Guard forces, you need to understand that National Guard forces are not trained law enforcement officers. We may have a few police officers in our ranks who just happen to be cops in civilian life, but the vast majority of National Guardsmen are, and for that matter, the active duty forces, are not police officers. And MP units are trained in military response, military law, not civilian law enforcement. So it is a hazard.
Given that, what risk do we face if the executive branch normalizes, or the Republican majority in Congress allows the executive branch to normalize unilateral use of troops in American cities?
Well, there's clearly going to be a disconnect between American citizenry and the American military. The American military is designed to protect us from foreign enemies. It's designed to protect us, not to police our streets. That's what civilian law enforcement's for, and there are plenty of federal law enforcement agencies that can provide that response.
Thank you. And one last question. I know my time is running out quickly here. Having learned from this experience in Los Angeles, which was clearly the test case for this administration, I have a concern about our national readiness From a readiness standpoint, what does it mean when military resources are diverted from national defense and disaster response to conduct police civilian activities?
Every dollar that you take away from or that you spend on a misuse of military force is a dollar that you don't have available for national defense, a dollar you don't have available to respond to the next Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, or the next Mississippi River flood, or the next tornado in St. Louis. So it's spending resources that need to be allocated to where they're properly allocated, and that's to the defense of our great nation and to recovery from national disasters.
Thank you. And just a final comment in closing. That's you pointed out some key examples from a Guards member perspective, separate and apart from the Department of Defense, right? When Marines were deployed into Los Angeles, it took those Marines away from other critical missions imperative for our national security. So it's not just local communities, whether they're feeling safer or not, but whether we as a nation are more secure or not. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.